Hi, I'm Gary, the bumbling beekeeper. Today we're going to make some lip balm. One of the advantages of raising bees is, in addition to honey and the fun of raising bees, you get beeswax. This will be just the basics of lip balm making. This is the recipe that you can adjust to your own liking. Basic ingredients: beeswax. The source for the beeswax that I use is Glory Bees. I buy it locally here at Central Market, or you can buy it online. The other thing is apricot kernel oil. And then an important part is the flavoring. I like peppermint. Lots of different flavors you can use. I also add a little bit of either tangerine oil or sweet orange. You don't want to add too much citrus. It becomes a little bit toxic if it's exposed to sunlight, so you don't want to have just pure citrus essential oil. I like combining peppermint and orange or tangerine, and I'll give you the combinations that I use. So that's the basic ingredients. Then you can also add vitamin E oil or honey. Now honey, you only add a little bit. It really doesn't mix in that well with the lip balm, but I like using a little bit anyway. It adds a fragrance, and some of it will mix in. So that's something you can experiment with. Okay, the equipment that's needed is a double boiler to melt the beeswax, then some pipettes to use to put the formula into the containers. Several different kinds of containers that you can use. I get my containers from lipbalmtubes.com. These metal containers work really well, and the advantage of them is that the consistency of the lip balm isn't that important as compared to when you make it in a tube. So these, or you can use whatever kind of containers you'd like to use. Little glass containers work well. We just made 150 tubes for Sean's wedding. I like these slim tubes, and the difficulty with using tubes is the consistency of the lip balm is very important. If it's too soft, it will not move up and down in the tube. So the formula for using the tubes, it's a little bit waxier than what I would use if I used the metal containers. So this is the finished product that we made for Sean's wedding, and you can put a little label on it. This is a 1 by 2.5 inch label that makes it look a little bit nicer. Okay, I also made a little fixture for holding the tubes. If you're going to do a lot, that helps. And these are supplies you can also buy. So the process is you start melting the wax, and most recipes will say 4 parts of oil to 1 part of wax. For this recipe, I'm using 2 to 1, 2 parts oil to 1 part wax, since I'm using it in the tubes. But this really varies. When you're making lip balm, you need to experiment with a small batch first to find the consistency you like, as well as how much essential oil to add. Okay, so you get the beeswax melting. Then you heat up the apricot oil just a little bit. If the apricot oil is cold, the wax will congeal when you add the two together. So warm up the apricot oil just a little bit. There again, I'm using 2 parts oil to 1 part wax for this recipe. Normally it would be 4 to 1. So once the beeswax is melted, you would add the wax to the preheated oil, and at At that point, you'll add vitamin E if you want to, just a little bit. Otherwise, it'll be too oily. And then a little bit of honey. I'll give you the exact formula at the end of the video. So at that point, this is starting to cool down a little bit, but you get the idea. So at this point, you've added the hot wax to the heated oil. You've added vitamin E and honey, and then you add the flavoring. You add flavoring last, because if this mixture is too hot, a lot of the essence of this oil will evaporate. So I like to add in this formula, say 20 drops of peppermint to 4 or 5 drops of either tangerine oil or sweet orange oil, whatever your preference is for the flavoring. So at that point, everything's mixed together. You use the pipette to just fill up either the tubes or whatever type of containers you're using. These pipettes are very inexpensive, 12 for $2.50. These metal containers and the tubes cost about 25 to 30 cents a piece, depending on where you purchase them. And you can use other oils. You can do some research. Coconut oil can be used, but I found apricot kernel oil works very well. And that's about it. Very simple.